I thought I'd make a video on microdosing. So for anyone who doesn't know what microdosing is, well, there's lots of different types of microdose, but it's to, if you like, regularly work with plant medicine or similar. So my experience with microdosing would be with psilocybin, and psilocybin is commonly known as magic mushrooms. So magic mushrooms are found in kind of the foundation of Zen Buddhism and the foundation of Christianity. There's a lot of references. There are books and there's research and stuff out there. It's not really my department, but I mean, you can find books and information out there about, say, the ancient mystery schools, about Zen Buddhism, the Egyptians, and early Christianity, and maybe even late Christianity at times, Buddhism as well, that a lot of these schools and religions initially worked with mushrooms or similar. So there is a conspiracy, or there is a fear, or a theory, that's the word I'm looking for, that the magic of the mushroom has kind of been removed for public consumption. They'll give us all the dogma and all the shite, but they won't tell us actually the benefit of working with these plants. About 3 years ago, I began working with ayahuasca, and up until that point, I had not taken any kind of mind-altering substance for maybe 17 or 18 years, or I don't know, I can't remember how long I'm sober, but something like that. And I was very wary of putting anything into my system, because I'd convinced myself and always believed that enlightenment or peace or any of these things is found through sober work, through meditation, through exercise, through contemplation, reading books. So it was quite a challenge for me and my ego too, and it took me a few months to come around to the idea of taking something into my system, altering my mind, and I was afraid of my addiction, addictive personality, my state of mind. But I suppose for me, I got to a rock bottom, even many years sober, of just in pain and too much unhappiness and no joy. There was just no joy or peace in my life. I was just empty, and so I kind of had nowhere else to go. So I kind of felt that, even though I was utterly terrified of ayahuasca, I had to take that step. And in the days after that, I continued to kind of read up on ayahuasca, and I was just intrigued by YouTube documentaries and that kind of thing. And I then came across psilocybin, the mushroom, and again something in me felt called. I made contact with some people, and very quickly I found myself with a month's supply of microdosing mushrooms. Now, personally, I do know people who do mushroom journeys. Generally, a mushroom journey is about 4 maybe dried grams of mushroom. I've never done that. I've only taken maybe 3 or 4 very small dose journeys, and generally my experience is with microdosing, so that's really what I'll try and stick to. To give you that idea, a proper, say, 4-hour mushroom journey is 3-4 dried grams. A microdose is 0.25, so 1/4 of 1 gram, a quarter of a dried gram, so it's very small. Early on, my first 2-3 doses were quite fearful. I was quite anxious and unsure and scared, and then it just settled down and kind of became part of my routine. So the schedule for microdosing would be, and the way I have always done it, would be 1 day on, 2 days off, 1 day on, 2 days off. So that results in 9 doses in a month. Over time, I then restricted that, and it just felt right for me to do twice a week. So I would dose on a Monday, say, Tuesday, Wednesday off, dose on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, dose on a Monday, and I would stick to that religiously. So I didn't want to be dosing on a Monday, maybe missing Thursday, dose on the Saturday, maybe do Sunday. It's very simple. I stuck to that, and I dosed what I would do is I'd get up in the morning, I'd have my capsule of the 1/4 gram, and I would swallow it with warm water and lemon juice, give thanks to the mushroom gods, ask for guidance from my higher self, and then basically just get on with my day, be productive. So microdosing, you don't sit in meditation, or you can do, and I certainly have done that, but the point of it, purpose, is that we function as normal. We get out and go to work and do what we would normally do. Now, the mushroom enhances and amplifies whatever feelings or whatever is going on. So if you have an argument with your boss, the mushroom will make that worse. And if you feel at peace and kind of in nature, the mushroom will enhance that. So I'd recommend for anyone who's considering microdosing to be aware of that, and that it's purposeful on those days to build a little routine or a little pattern, that if things get hairy, if something goes wrong, that there are steps you can take, that there's a garden you can walk out in, and, and just kind of ground yourself and just get back into peace. I spent a lot of days that I would just walk, take off my shoes and socks, put on my shorts and walk out into the sea. And there's a sea near me in Sandymount that it just doesn't get deep for like half a mile or something. So I could just walk out, and when the tide is out, you could just walk out for like half a mile probably of sand or very shallow water, and just walk and be in the wind or be in the sun or be in shallow water of the sea and stroll around for an hour. And it was beautiful, really grounding, really healing, really just nice. I have also microdosed at one point where I was in a job with a Kango hammer. It's like a pneumatic drill, drilling out a fireplace, and that was not a good experience. Just the noise and vibration and all that. So it's better to be in a more conducive place of work or situation. Over time, I probably dosed, I'd say, for about 3 months in a row. And then I took about a month's break, and then I think I dosed for about 2 months, and then I took a month's break and I dosed for about 2 months. And since that, I've done it very little times, like random days I haven't done. I did do it for a month. I think it was last year, about 12 months ago. I did 1 month that I felt it was right to just dose 8 times in the month. So I'd get up and I know I'm going all over the place, but I'd get up and I would take the dose. I wouldn't have a breakfast, so I would not eat until around lunchtime. I might dose at 8 a.m. and I might try and eat then around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, something like that. To just, the dose is so small that if you eat afterwards, you have a cup of coffee or something, it'll just flood the dose. It'll just wipe out any. Now, you're not seeing things, you're not hallucinating, there's no strong awareness. A lot of people would notice nothing. The intention is it's supposed to be sub-perceptual. Now that's just the way I do it. I've met people who do it differently. We learn really to work with the medicine, with that. I know it's a slight dose, but we learn to just subtly to meet it. So the problem, say, with a lot of addicts or, modern societies, people want the pill to fix them. They won't meet the pill. So with medicine work, such as ayahuasca, we have to meet the medicine. You can't just lay back and say, okay, heal me, clear out all my shit. It doesn't work like that. We have to learn to work with it, to be intuitive and to be guided by it, and sense how we feel and what's going on, and maybe be still and sit in a garden for a while, or be present. And through working with the mushroom, it was really beneficial, and I learned a lot about being present and observing, which I made another video called The Roller Coaster of Emotions, I think, which is, the mushroom really helped me to see that, to see those highs and lows, and to be able to observe them and not get on the roller coaster. There's a guy called, if I have his name correct, I'll put a link below, Gary Weber, and he talks about the default mode network. So the default mode network is a part of the brain that keeps talking to us. It's that voice that keeps going and just won't shut the fuck up. Weber has done a lot of work on this, and his understanding is there are 2 things that quieten that voice. Now, when that voice is quiet, we're just present. You're listening to the person who's talking to you. You're sitting in your seat. You know, there's is there a Zen saying, when the wise man, when he walks, when he talks, and when he sits, he sits. The two things that quieten that voice, the default mode network, are 10,000 hours of meditation and psilocybin. Those two things. Now, 10,000 hours of meditation works out at something like 40 years of meditation, an hour a day, something like that. But that trains the brain to be quiet. It trains it, the default mode network, to shut the fuck up. Psilocybin doesn't train it. It just does it temporarily. So it's not a cure-all, which I think is brilliant. It doesn't fix us. Because we'd all just be running out going, I'm going to just take my psilocybin, that's going to cure me. No, it doesn't work like that. The two go hand in hand. Psilocybin and meditation, and we can train the mind just to be present. I've spent hours, over the last few years, days probably, where I just sat in a car watching people, watching the sea, watching the weather change, just present. Not hallucination, not goofing off, not all in bliss, not full of love and light and all that shite. Just present. And I could watch whatever emotions come in and watch them go out. And it's been a great experience for me. It's been very purposeful to learn about the roller coaster of emotions, and to see that I don't need to get on it. I don't need to connect. Now, there's plenty of work still to do on that. It wouldn't be complete perhaps if I didn't give a little bit of constructive criticism around microdosing. There are, it's becoming very popular in tech firms and in Seattle. Is it Seattle? No. Silicon Valley and, and these Facebook and all these kind of places, because it allows people to kind of be quite creative and be present. You can get tasks done. You can be more in the flow. And the point obviously is it's not addictive at all. Psilocybin is the kind of thing that, if you take it a few days in a row, it's useless. It's like alcohol. You become immune to it. If you drink all the time, you'll have to drink more and more. It's the same with psilocybin. There's no high or buzz. It's just an altered state. Over the years, I've recommended psilocybin to a few people. Anyone I've recommended to use or to work with psilocybin that I thought would be beneficial, that I thought it would help them to get out of their fucking minds and just to be present a bit, to help slow down their analysis and introspection and thinking. They've all kind of fucked it up, to be honest. I've seen people who'll take all the mushrooms in one go, who'll drink with them, or who'll take, and this is a few people, believe me. So rather than Monday and the Thursday, they'll get up and they'll say, but I have to have a breakfast, and they'll eat, and then they might take the microdose at lunchtime, and then they might be busy the next few days, so they don't take it until the following week, and then they take it 3 days in a row, or they take the 3 days together. I've seen all of this kind of thing. And I suppose for me, it's just an indication of how committed they are, or how uncommitted and how unimportant it is to them. There's a book called The Psychedelic Gospels, which is about the link between psilocybin and Christianity. It's not a great book, but there's certainly some good information in it, and it can lead you, if you're that way inclined, it can lead you to deeper information about the history. But psilocybin is considered a sacrament. It's something holy. It's something taken for a purpose. It's not taken to kind of goof off on a Saturday night, or to kind of have a mystical experience, or gonna be spiritual tomorrow, I'm gonna take my microdose. There needs to be a degree of respect really with what you're working with, and we're also working with spirit and our consciousness, and generally I really would recommend to not fuck around with these things. People die, they commit suicide, they have addictions, they get confused, I don't mean in microdosing, but just in life. So I tend to be kind of careful with my consciousness and with my spirit. And these are mind-altering and spirit-altering substances, so I just keep that in mind. So if you're really committed to kind of going to a deeper layer, or maybe try 1 month. And maybe for 1 month, try to not have to have your cup of coffee or your breakfast. Is it such a challenge? If it is such a challenge, well then the breakfast is more important, the cup of coffee is more important. I wouldn't bother about the microdose. Who cares? So it's about finding that importance or respect or priority for it, and committing to that. With a lot of medications, like even, big pharma medications, they're designed in a way that they work their way into your system and help alter your system or change. This is the same with psilocybin. So like taking it randomly at random times and random days, your system gets flooded. There's nothing there then for a few days. Your system gets flooded again, and it's kind of up and down. It's not conducive. It's not healthy. It's not helpful. So I'd recommend that consistency. And what I found over the weeks while dosing was that I genuinely, this happened many times, that I actually wondered, I'd get up in the morning or mid-afternoon, and I'd have to stop and think, have I dosed today? Even when I hadn't. So the dose bleeds into the 7 days of the week. The days after, the days before, that it would still, I would very gently be in my system, and I would be in that state. I would be retraining my being to be in that state, even though there was no psilocybin in my system. So that's what we're aiming for, very gently to dose consistently, to allow it into the system. So yeah, intention, I think, is very important. To go in, to consider, if you're considering microdosing, what is my intention here? Is it to have a buzz for a month, or on the weekend or some morning? And that's okay. At least then you're going in. Now, I don't agree with it, but at least you can be honest with yourself and say, yeah, life is boring. I want some sort of excitement. I still don't agree with that, but at least you're not bullshitting yourself and other people saying, yeah, microdosing is a spiritual awakening. So yeah, have an intention, and just an honourable intention, ideally, that you'd like to see what unfolds over a month. Microdosing once is not really going to do much. I have dosed once or twice randomly since that time. I think at this stage, because my system seems to be so clear, that 1 or 2 doses I found really helpful. But early on, it would have been useless to me. I needed the twice a week. I needed the consistency to relearn how to be present. I'd also say that over time I went from 0.25 of a gram to around 1.5, between 1.5 and 1.7 of a gram. That the 0.25 was just too strong for me. As my system cleared, it was too much of a journey. It became a bit too hectic, during the day. It's supposed to be very subtle. So I had to lower the dose. So yeah, that's just my experience, and we'll just reiterate as well, it's very conducive with meditation. So to be meditating twice a day, and I don't necessarily mean meditating while on it, although you take it in the morning, you do your morning meditation, but meditate in the evening, meditating on the days as well that you don't dose. Now when I say meditation, I don't mean 3 hours, I mean like 15 minutes twice a day. That's generally around what I do. But you'd get to see that the two together really go hand in hand. And over a month, if you're meditating once, twice a day over a month, you'll get to see at the end of that month, a change in your being, how you feel differently, if you're sleeping differently, if people notice that you're calmer or whatever. And as well with the mushroom over that month, to see the change in your awareness or your state of mind or your outlook. Pretty interesting. Anyway, that's my microdosing stuff. Thanks for listening. I'll leave some links to my newsletter and Instagram below. Be well.